Welcome. Let me just open this up. I'm the director of the Department of Children and Family Services here in Illinois. My name is George Sheldon, and we're here to announce what I think is an exciting initiative. But before I do that, I'd just like to articulate the Governor Ronner and I just left a meeting with about 30 youth in care and some foster youth who have aged out. And to really listen to them and their concerns, and what I've learned is that we really in this country designed a whole child welfare system, and we never talk to kids. And they have more at stake, and they have more knowledge about what needs to be done to make foster care a much better place for children and youth. Governor Ronner and the First Lady are remarkable advocates for children. And I'm grateful for the support that they've given, and particularly at the department that Governor Ronner has given to me to try to move this system forward into a better place. Today, I think we have a chance to really show young adults an example of how government and the private industry can work together to improve lives. Under the Governor's leadership, the Department of Commerce and Economic Development and the Department of Children and Family Services signed an interagency agreement to expand work and career readiness for youth and young adults. When these children and teenagers come into our care, our job as a state is more than just protect them from abuse. That's a given. But we need caring foster parents. We need to help these youth overcome setbacks in their lives. We need to, in effect, develop an opportunity for these youth to build a future. And I think we have the opportunity to give them that brighter future in school, in dealing with trauma they've endured, and now with the help of the Illinois business community to launch them on a career path that can sustain them. This is so important. We cannot bring children into our care as a society and then, when they reach adulthood, blow out the candles on their birthday cake and tell them to have a good life. We have to be more. We, in effect, are parents of these children, and that's a long-term commitment. And I'm pleased to say that many businesses have already stepped up to provide jobs and career opportunities and the benefits of their training program to our young adults. Some of these businesses are here today. What we're announcing is an initiative called Building Futures. It is a pilot program aimed at expanding work and career readiness resources for youth and young children in our care. Participants will receive increased mentoring, coaching, and employment readiness training to achieve employment. The target group will be young adults 18 to 21 who, while able and willing, are currently not engaged in furthering their education or their work experiences. Participants will have access to approved training programs with the WIOA under the Department of Commerce and Economic Development. Currently, already, there are 4 programs in Cook County who have done so much to help our youth. Alternative Schools Network, Lawrence Hall, My Time, Kaleidoscope, who are represented here with us today. This really will expand on what's happened in Cook. And in July, we will launch in the following communities: Marion, Mount Vernon, Champaign, Peoria, Rockford, and 130 youth will be part of this new initiative. And we've got to expand it beyond that. You know, let me just articulate that I remember not too long ago going into one of our food stamp offices who was processing food stamps in the back office. And there was a young person there who was about 19 years old who had been in foster care. And this young man had tattoos, Governor, from his neck all the way down his body. And I remember him, and listen to this, this was kind of an entry-level job, processing in a back office applications for food stamps. And this young man said, "For the first time in my life, I feel like I've got a future." He also said, Now I feel like I've got 11 moms because there were 11 women working in the room. But for that young man and for so many of these youth, having a job is more than a paycheck. It's more than being able to pay for food and an apartment. Having a job is a piece of being part of society. It is hope for the future. That's why a job is so important. I remember also another young woman who we placed with a business. She worked there for 2 days, and on the third day didn't show up for work. An ordinary business person would have terminated that young woman. But they talked to her and basically found out that she only had 2 days of clothes. Now, most young people would in effect plan for that. They would talk to their family or their friends and say, I need clothes for my job. But she was embarrassed even to ask. That's why mentoring is so important. That's why these employers and the work that they're going to do with these youth is so critical. It's why our partners are so important to really engage these young people. So the jobs that they will create under this program are really so more than just a job. It's about building futures. That's why this is an important initiative, and that's why I'm pleased to see the governor challenging the business community to really step up to the plate, and the business community is doing that. And I'm so pleased also to work with the director of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, Sean McCarthy, because this really didn't take much convincing with the department. It really meshed into what they were trying to do in terms of building economic development. So let me ask Director McCarthy to come to the microphone.
Thank you, Director. Good afternoon. I'm Sean McCarthy, the Acting Director of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. At the Department of Commerce, we are committed to ensuring that everyone in our state has access to economic opportunity and the chance to build a better life for themselves. This includes economic opportunities for some of our state's most vulnerable residents, youth and young adults in the care of the Illinois foster system. We are glad to partner with the Department of Children and Family Services on the Building Futures initiative. This initiative will connect youth in care with the resources of Illinois' workforce development system and help them develop the skills to prepare them for careers in high-demand occupations. Investing in quality, well-trained workforce is key to making Illinois a competitive and attracting place for new businesses and opportunities for our state. I also want to thank our community partners and employers who have committed to hiring youth in care. They recognize that building and investing in our youth in care, they are investing in their future, the future of their communities, and their business, and the future of our state. Now I'd like to introduce John Lane.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, and thank you, Governor Rauner and Director Sheldon, Tisha Smith at Kaleidoscope for asking me to come down and speak this afternoon. I was asked to speak a little bit about our partnership with Kaleidoscope. Well, first of all, I'm the HR and Business Development Director at Catalyst Ranch, which is a small women-owned business in the West Loop in Chicago. We have worked with Kaleidoscope for a few years. We've had 8 youth placed with us. The thing about the Catalyst Ranch is it's a small business, so there's usually around 25 employees, so it's like a family. So we all know that the next generation is really important in a family. So we nurture that. Director Sheldon's words really hit home about the youth who only had 2 days worth of clothes. We go through those things all the time. And most of the time, sometimes the kids aren't afraid to ask. They don't want to, they're embarrassed, or they don't want to be a burden or anything like that. And it takes time and trust to building that with them, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. Those kids have the soft skills. Maybe they don't have the hard skills, but those are teachable. The soft skills are things that we can polish. So it's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for any small business. Our experience has been great. We just promoted 2 of our people who came through Kaleidoscope. We've been talking to Tisha and Liz at Kaleidoscope about more. So I don't know what else I can tell you, 'cause it's been a positive experience for us. So thank you, Governor Rauner.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today is an important day in the progress that we in Illinois are trying to make to help those among us who are the most vulnerable. We have children, we have far too many children that weren't given their right, their God-given right to grow up, be born into a loving, supportive, competent family. It's the most tragic loss, and in some ways I think the most fundamental right that they haven't been given. We have a duty, we have a moral obligation to try to help them, give them what they were denied in their personal circumstance. It's very difficult to do. Director Sheldon and I just spent a fair bit of time talking with young people. The hole in their hearts is large, but they're wonderful young people, wonderful, talented, dedicated, hardworking. They are good people, and they deserve a chance at a good, full life. We have a moral obligation to try to give them that good, full life. I was struck, couldn't help but become quite emotional at their stories. We talked in their circumstances and what they've gone through. I can't imagine. I couldn't, how do you put yourself in the circumstance? If you haven't lived it yourself, how do you put yourself in their circumstance? I learned something today that, I think most people would not be aware of or think that was a big deal. Illinois is one of the very few states in America where these young people are called wards of the state. That's what they're called. They were so emotional and started clapping. It was like a standing ovation when I said, we don't have to do that. We shouldn't do that. That sounds like a terrible term. And they said, we were talking about what you like to be called, and they said, youth in care. I said, that sounds great to me. And they said, would you say that for our picture phones? And I said, I'd be honored to say that. And I said, we in Illinois are no longer going to call you wards of the state. We're going to call you youth in care. It was a huge eruption, and these are. But there are so many things we need to change to do better. And we're all human, and our systems, we have flaws and failures, and our systems have flaws and failures. But we've got to try every day to make things better. I want to compliment Director Sheldon. He's from another state, and he was also active in the Obama administration, and he's a lifelong Democrat. And I give him a lot of credit for coming to work for a conservative Republican. And as George and I have discussed, and I've discussed many times, we have many Democrats in our administration. I'm actually, as I say every day, the good Lord didn't make us Democrats or Republicans. The good Lord put us on earth to do his work, to help each other make the world a better place. And I'm privileged and honored that we have George Sheldon with us, and Candace Jones with us in juvenile justice, and many, many others. Just trying to make things better, help each other, help our services improve. We in Illinois, another thing that most people wouldn't be aware, it's a big deal. We in Illinois have had a far larger proportion of our young people kept in residential treatment, in treatment centers, not in homes with families. That's a big deal. And we keep the young people there far longer than almost any other state. That fails our young people. They deserve a stable environment where emotional connections can be developed and emotional human one-on-one support can be engendered. And Director Sheldon has taken great strides to change that. But what we heard, and every family dynamics is different. We have many success stories coming through our care program, but there are important failures, and we're not succeeding on the scale we need to. And we can't let these young people fall through the cracks. And having raised 6 kids, Diane and I know how hard it is. and even with given every support in the world and every encouragement and every emotion, when they go out on their own, oh my goodness, is it hard for everybody. And it's scary for these young people. Well, if you've grown up in a treatment center and then a foster home and then maybe another foster home, and not necessarily getting the best access to a quality education that you should deserve to have, and then with really very little job training or job experience, and then you turn 18 or in some cases 21, and then it's like, okay, you're no longer a ward of the state. Oh my goodness, how crushing is that? And you're on your own. And too often they end up being homeless. Too often they have to resort to crime to feed themselves. And it's a tragedy of terrible proportion. And we discussed that today. We're here today to talk about a step. It's one step. We have to take so many steps. We want to create job training opportunities, so young people can you don't really know what it's like to get a job without, you gotta have the experience. You gotta have the opportunity to go work and know what that really means and what's involved and the discipline that it requires. You can't be thrown out at 21 not having had it and think that you're gonna be able to take care of yourself. It's not possible. So today we're talking about building futures. I wanna thank the leaders in the business community around Illinois. This started in Cook County in partnership with DCFS to get businesses who will partner with our Department of Children and Family Services and create training but job opportunities for young people starting out in life, starting out to become productive, hardworking members of our community, and give them that opportunity, that chance. Give them that chance. We've done it on a small scale in Cook County. Now we're going to progress. We're going to expand. We're going to come to Rockford and Peoria and Champaign and Marion. Wonderful communities. And I want to thank members of the business community in these areas who are willing to step up and get involved and help with this. And I would call upon leaders across Illinois in the business community, please help. These are wonderful young people. Wonderful, wonderful, hardworking, dedicated, and they so much want to strive and succeed. And they deserve that chance. Together, let's give them that chance, and we can make a better life for everyone in Illinois. Thank you. With that, I would like to open up to questions. I would ask Sean and Director Sheldon to come back, and let's talk about questions on this topic.
Governor or Director, if you could, when we talked about this earlier this year about the pilot program, the conversation about what happens with those 18-year-olds that don't want to get into education or don't want to take part in these kind of jobs programs. What happens?
And I've said before, we need to be incentivizing youth to do that which a parent would do, to get a job or get an education. But there also is a responsibility that we have to make sure that happens. And you know, I look at growing up. I was blessed. We were poor. I was the last of 6 kids. But my parents really encouraged me, you know, get a job mowing lawns, get a job selling Christmas cards. That little stuff makes a real difference. And these youth, I think, have just now beginning to experience that. And I think in the past, and I think I've got a concern, whether a child ages out at 21 or they age out at 18, they don't have an education or a job skill, we haven't done anything for them. And that's the reason that the governor has really invested and said, all right, let's make a major commitment to connect youth with employment. I see Bob back there who's really doing the same thing in Illinois. LSN who's doing that. There's so many people who want to make this happen. So I think what we're really trying to do, I think what Director McCarthy and I are trying to do, is really challenge the business community to partner with us to make a difference. Because because sooner or later these youth will age out, and we've got to give them more than just a hefty bag with their clothing in it. We've got to give them the ability to succeed, and this won't in and of itself do it, but it is a significant step towards creating that partnership with the business community.
So what happens though with the 18-year-old, say, that doesn't want to take part in the program?
Yeah, I think we sell youth short. They really want to be productive. They don't want to grow up in a concrete jungle. And I think part of that is making sure they've got the opportunities to do that. And I think you will find youth stepping up to the plate. That's why most states in the country who have extended youth care to 21 really have about a 90% rate of kids in those programs. Now, there are some youth who may have a disability that keeps them from working. A young 19-year-old single mom with an infant, we need to continue to be working with them. But ultimately, we've got to make sure that we don't put them on a pipeline to the criminal justice system or to homelessness. And I think one thing that I've learned is that the state, no matter how good we get, is not a good parent. And that's why partnering with the business community, partnering with our not-for-profit community is so important moving forward.
Does our state cut off at 18 or continues 21?
Continues 21. Actually, Illinois has been continuing services 21 since 1907, long before the federal government and other states. And now other states are really following Illinois' model. And I think what we've got to do is make sure that we've done something more than just extend housing and food to the age of 21. We've got to help youth develop the kind of independent living skills, learning how to budget, I talked to a young kid who was going through financial literacy training, how to budget, how to set up a budget, how to get a check, how to set up a checking account. And this kid said to me, he said, "I've never been in a bank." We forget just how foreign, by isolating them, just how foreign some of the things that you and I take for granted.
Can you say how you picked the 4 locations and parochially, like Springfield's not on it, or Springfield outlet, but how'd you pick these 4 places?
Well, those were the willing and the able, folks who were willing to step up. But clearly, we're willing to expand it to any community where there's an employer who wants to be engaged in this. Trust me, there's plenty of room at the table for just those few communities.
Do you know how many children will be impacted by this?
Well, initially our target is 130, but that's not enough, and that's the reason I think this is a model that we'd like to expand moving around the state. But I think we want to be sure, and that's what I believe that we can do with the current employers that we have at the table and with the partnership that we have with the Department of Commerce.
Is that 130 per community or?
No, 130 at this point, statewide, 40 in Cook, 60 downstate, and then another 130. But clearly, and which is one reason I think the governor wanted to really send this message out, if there are employers out there throughout Illinois who want to step up to the plate, there are plenty of youth who need that, and we'll make the connection.
So at the Department of Commerce level, what we're doing is reaching out to all the business communities, we're reaching out to businesses and not-for-profit organizations, talking about this program. We're pitching it to the businesses that we speak with, or that we talk with, telling them that this is an opportunity to help youth in care. Building these futures, having earned success, as the governor mentioned earlier, this is our moral obligation. So this is something we're taking serious, and we are speaking to a lot of the stakeholders in the communities.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Governor, you want to say anything about your new nominee for president?
Sean.